Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the X2 playthrough for the final part, Part 7. Or Part 6, I mean, ugh. So now we're in the final X-Hunter stage, at least the final one that has a boss at the end that's not Sigma. And it has probably the best track of all of them. In fact, it gets a remix in X6 for Gates Lab. Which I have to admit is a pretty bitchin' remix. So as far as this stage, it's the hardest, obviously. Along with having the best music, it has probably the best difficulty of all of them. You can't really go through, look at that, like you have small sections like that. However, I've already filled out my E-tanks, so I don't need those. The X6 remix is much better than this one, I must admit. Now, in order to get up here, you're gonna have to use the crystal snail ability on that bat, or you could, I think you could actually use that platform, but that's neither here nor there because I just use the crystal snail ability all the time. All right, now this section, this little area right here, is the most irritating section that's coming up. I had to edit it like 7 or 8 deaths out, and I'm not sure if this is what caused me to not get the Shoryuken ability or not. Alright, basically, you have to use the crystal snail ability on one of those bats. You have to get it to come down, and then let it sit there. And I think if you actually are under the crystal snail, like thing when a bat falls, when they fall, you have to deal with the fact that the enemy might crush you. I'm not sure about that though. Someone might want to test it. Now look at that. Look at that. You have this small, tiny little space that you can use to get out of there. I recommend just letting an enemy hit you. Alright, now with this, you have to air dash here, and then do a quick speed burner there to get through that. Now if you hug this wall, at a certain point you'll fall through. Right there. And this is where you would usually find the Shoryuken ability, but for some reason I'm never able to find it, so there's that. I don't know if you have to have like full sub-tanks and stuff like that. I believe if you actually use the speed burner ability on those things, you can actually do an instant, it's like an instant kill. I'm trying to find the crystal snail ability, because that's the only way to get over this. Now, once you've used the crystal snail ability, an enemy won't despawn until you leave the screen, so you have to wait till they leave, till you leave the screen, and then despawn. Because the crystal snail ability will remain until they leave. Sometimes the crystal snail ability looks weird. Alright. I have to wait for this guy to get off me. Who's going to use my crystal snail? Last thing you want is to go into a boss fight with those things on your back, because and thank God that it was just that, it was only that he, would, change that. They got rid of my crystal snail ability and they just kept firing, because if he was the type that, the type of enemy that would, if he had gotten the ability to, change my pattern of, movement, he just made me move randomly, that would have been the most dangerous place to have that happen, because that's right over up to the spikes. Which I still don't understand what was with Dr. Light, where he made all of his robots, weak to spike damage. I don't really get that. Anyway, this is Agile. This is his final form. He's the only one of the X-Hunters I think to actually change forms. The Surges just does the same thing they did before and stays with the vehicle. Not really much to say about Agile here. I think just use the Magnet Mine, honestly. I still don't find use for the Magnet Mine's alternate ability, because I never really go after, whatever his name is. I don't even remember what his name is now. I don't know what I've forgotten the Maverick's name. Oh, and there's the speed burn. But I don't really know what his, how that secondary ability could be helpful. I tried to use it on Crystal Snail, but it's too slow. Honestly, so I don't really know. Just using the Magnet Mine alone. You can actually destroy that, as you saw there, you can actually destroy that giant X, projectile, so that way it doesn't hit you. Aha!
No! This cannot be! Master, avenge me!
And that's the end of Agile.
Now I believe we're about to start going ahead into our boss rush soon enough after this. So once the fast forwarding starts, I'm just gonna remind you that the boss rush is like in every other X game in a Mega Man game. So we'll see you when we get back.
Alright then, and after all of that, now it's time to finally take on our last enemy, who is Sigma, in the final stage. Wait, is this that other guy's stage? That I always want to call Boomer Flanger for whatever reason? No, it's not, it's just a trick stage, I believe. The last X Hunter stage is Sigma's last palace area. This is actually... I never really understood this about this stage, is why it has the opening stage music. Anyway, there's nothing up there, but I'm going to go ahead and check anyway. Speedburn it! I see nothing up there. I don't know what's with the lag in this video for some reason. As you can see, I'm just using the last mic things, and there's the item checker that you get with your helmet. Still be careful of these works; they can still instant kill you. I always want to call this place Sigma's computer room, but then I always think of Vector from Shadow the Hedgehog. Alright then, now, if you didn't have the X Hunter pieces from defeating them during the levels, you'd actually see a red 0 here, but as you can see, it's a black 0. So what would have happened is that Sigma would have rebuilt 0 and then used his then collected his chip in order to activate him, and would have used that to fight X here. And actually, that song that you heard during the boss rush would have was actually an OC remix or overclock remix of the 0 versus X theme from this game. So, but since I got all the X Hunter pieces, I was able to actually have 0 come into the fray and help me out during this fight. Basically destroying it and defeating the boss that would have been there. So that way I can go straight to Sigma, which is good because it saves time and makes it so that we don't have to waste energy on fighting that 0. Those attacks that 0 did in order to, those little animation attacks, are actually they're actually attacks that the 0 that would have came up here would have used against us. And that attack is that little animation is actually the same type of animation that X does in X3 for one of his abilities. Now, you'd think for the fact that 0 says that he's going to go help us out, that you'd think that he'd come and help us fight Sigma, but actually doesn't. 0 does dibble. Which is sad. Really see that KJ Inafune was really trying to make sure that 0 was always in the games, or doing something. Even if he actually didn't do anything. You are merely a bothersome insect, X. It is about time that I squash you. Alright, so Sigma's first phase, he uses these Wolverine claws in order to fight you. I believe he's weak to the Overdrive Ostrich ability, so you just keep sending that around the room and keep hitting him. His first form isn't actually that hard. He'll just keep flying around the screen. However, he'll knock you around a lot, which can be very annoying in the long run of everything. Just keep trying to... You can try to charge your Overdrive Ostrich ability, and you can actually do a lot of damage, and double the damage up, and you can actually hit him up close, because the Overdrive Ostrich weapons do the same amount of damage up close as they do fully charged, if you're up close and personal. And then Sigma will do this ability that he got from, what's his name, from that one Maverick in Megaman X1 that can do that. Or who used X's ability from that Maverick. As you can see here, though, I'm kind of beating Sigma back. I did have to use that sub-tank on him, however. But overall, still, Sigma's first form is pretty easy. It's the second form that gave me the most trouble during this recording. Mode 7 graphics. Alright then, so now this is Sigma's energy or data form. First I'm gonna say it, the Genesis did, I'm sorry, Nintendo, but I loved your console, but the Genesis did Mode 7 type of graphics much better than, just like wireframe stuff, did much better on the Genesis. Pulse Man.
Anyway, Sigma's secondary form is actually a lot easier than his first form, because you can actually fill your health up off the enemies that he drops. Because they'll actually leave health pickups and energy pickups. His secondary form actually isn't weak to anything, to my knowledge. I've heard that's weak to the bubble crab weapon, but I'm not too sure on that, because whenever I tried the bubble crab weapon on him, because I had to do 2 different recordings, he never really took that much damage from it. Why you would ever come... You know, I've always wondered why you would ever come to the palace section without all of your armor. I don't really know why you would do that. That seems like a death sentence. Because the only way to dodge that attack that Sigma does when he goes across the screen with the red light is to actually jump over his head using the what's it called? Using the air dash. Which I must admit, I'm happy they integrated into X's full moveset by X8. I'm surprised it took them 8 games to finally integrate, or really 70 games to integrate that to his full moveset, but that aside. This is the final battle, and this is and what you're seeing Sigma do here is literally the only thing that he does. And once you start seeing that the screen starts shaking when you hit him, that means that you're doing a lot of damage to him. So he just used the normal double X Buster. But anyway, since this is the final boss, now I like to talk over the credits. I'm just going to go ahead and get my general impressions here. X2 is a pretty decent game, and actually I must admit that I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think that it fulfills its role as a sequel pretty well. It doesn't change too much from the original. It doesn't differentiate too much from the original, but it also changes enough to make itself seem at least fresh enough to be a good game on its own. As far as the story in X2, it's still one of the early X games before they start integrating like plot into these games, into the Mega Man universe. It's still pretty bland and sweet. Not anywhere near as good as like the Zero series plot or the ZX series plot, or even Legends. As far as like the gameplay, like I said, it keeps it mainly the same. Music, I think the music is some of the music tracks are better than they were in X1, but this is the game where they started using guitars a lot more, and they just overused them to hell in X3, which is why I really do not like X3's soundtrack, at least if you're playing the SNES version. If you're playing the PS1 version, the soundtrack's fine. The SNES version I really hate, as far as the soundtrack. But the way they use guitars in this game is much better because they at least keep a different form of music each time. Although I still have to admit that the music's not better than X1's, which is a shame. I don't know if that's just me overly loving the X1 soundtrack, or if that's just that's like how a lot of people feel. I personally feel that the X2 soundtrack is weaker than the X1 in some of its areas. As far as the armor and stuff, I think the armor looks better in X1. That's just personal opinion, though. That's not really a major thing that goes against the game. That's just an aesthetic thing. As far as the boss types and the bosses themselves, I think the bosses are fine, excluding Magnus Centipede, where I think that he is the cheapest boss in the entire X series, just considering the fact that he can actually take away your abilities to move and all of that. And this is what Sigma does when you go low health, to start teleporting to try and scare you and get a quick hit in, screech you. But that aside, I really do think that the boss counters in this game are alright. They're not as bad as like oh, and this is what grabbing in his face. I don't know how he does this, but it's not as bad as some people make them out to be, where like they act like the X series just had constantly worse bosses like throughout its entire years. I actually must admit that the X series got better bosses, but they also got some of the worst boss types later on. And after a bit, and the thing about when Sigma does that, you can still hit him in the head, so you can actually, like, you can still actually do a lot of damage just from the fact that he's doing that, so use that to your advantage. But that's going to be X2. As far as the boss encounters, though, I think the boss encounters are fine. The level design was pretty good. A bit cheap at the end, but that's how these castles work in these games. And as far as Sigma, I think that Sigma being the villain is still stupid, and I still wish that they had actually changed the villain up every once in a while. Because you can only fight the same person but so many times in different forms. Especially when its boss fights start getting easier by the time. Especially when it's like something like X6 where the final boss is a pathetic piece of garbage. But that's X2, everyone. I don't really like this talking over the credits. As you can see, X is just escaping the base. And you know how I am. I don't do no overtime. So, as soon as the credits start rolling, I am out of here!